Hi folks, this is video number 73 and the title is The White Silo. This story will be about a few experiences that transpired while sitting in vehicles just watching a white silo. When we went on night patrol and there wasn't much of anything going on, I would tell my fellow officers by radio that we were going to the bank. That was code for Windy Valley. There were only a few houses and or cabins on Windy Valley Road. There were lots of open fields. It was a popular spotlighting area. You could spotlight in Pennsylvania up to 11 p.m., except during deer season and perhaps other restrictions. About the middle of the open stretch of Windy Valley Road stood the Windy Valley Inn. It was a hotel and bar, but was usually open only during deer season. It was located on the east side of the road. The driveway was on the south end. Lining the outer edge of the driveway was a barrier of nice thick hemlocks. We parked totally concealed in the driveway. Directly across the road was a barn with a white silo about 30 feet high. If a vehicle was approaching from either the north or south, the white silo would glow or light up, even when the vehicle was half a mile away. I had switches in my trucks to kill power to the outside lights to aid in concealment. We saw the silo glow. We would get out and walk out to where we could see up or down the road. You could watch spotlighters either using handheld lights or slowly weaving back and forth using their headlights to shine the deer. Back at this time, it was not unusual to count upwards of 300 deer in a pass through the valley. The valley was pretty much surrounded by Game Lands 57. It was almost a sure thing that we would catch a late spotter. One night, Lou and I were watching a vehicle coming from the south. When it got directly in front of us, I turned on the lights. It was a van with a sliding side door. In the open doorway was a guy kneeling and holding a drawn bow and arrow. Boy, were they surprised to see us. Another time, when I had my Dodge Power Wagon, Lou and I were there. About a week before, I had a flat tire, but didn't get a chance to get it repaired. I didn't worry about that because about a month before, another of my neighbors had also bought an 80 Dodge truck. Besides color, his was a step side and still had the single round headlights. He didn't like his truck for some reason. He had purchased an extra wheel and tire for it and wanted to know if I wanted to buy it. Well, it was the same year Dodge, so for 50 bucks I now had two spares. Having a flat the week before was therefore no big deal. Well, it was about 2 in the morning and the silo was glowing. We stepped out and observed a spotter slowly coming from the north end. I waited until he went by our location and then pulled out onto the road and turned on my lights. The truck didn't feel right, but the spotter stopped right away. I'm not going to even use his first name, as locals reading this would pretty much know him. I'll just call him Frog. I had sighted him a time or two in the past for the same thing. This time he asked if he could spot the rest of the way, being he was already caught. No? Well, Frog left and I checked my truck. Yep, another flat tire. Well, I got out the jack and Lou got the four-way and started loosening the lug nuts. He got them loose and I raised the truck. He, of course, then pulled off the flat. He grabbed the spare and went to put it on. I'm holding the lights so we could see. He was having trouble. He said, "This doesn't fit." How the heck could that be? It's an 80 Dodge wheel. Nope, wouldn't go. The hole pattern was about an eighth to 3/16 of an inch too small. Great. Well, about 100 yards or so north of the inn was the Forkston Constable's house. Bob Williams knew us very well. I used to stop in with Al to visit a bit. One time, the field across from Bob's house was lightly snow-covered. He and his wife invited us in, and we sat in the living room enjoying some hot tea and watching through their big picture window. There were about 20 turkeys munching seeds and flaring their tails and just strutting around in the sun. We put the flat back on, and I backed the truck to Bob's house and parked out of the way towards one side of his driveway. I called Dallas on the radio and requested they call my house and tell Louise my location and that we needed a ride home. Bob heard us and came out. He had no problem with us leaving the truck. She got there in about a half hour. Next day I took the first flat to town and got it fixed, and then proceeded to Bob's house, put it on the truck, and then took that tire to town and got it fixed. Spent most of the day fooling around with that. A couple weeks later I got a call from Dallas at the house. Frog's dad wanted to see me, as he had some information for me. This would be the first time I met his dad. His dad was a real character. He was an alcoholic. He had Pabst Blue Ribbon beer for breakfast, Bud for lunch, and Rolling Rocker Ballantine for dinner. But he was a happy drunk. We sat and talked. I had to keep turning down his numerous offers to have a beer, officer. I told him I couldn't as I was working. He gave me some information about some New Jersey guys at a camp farther out the road who didn't have any antlerless deer license. I made a note of it, and when we checked him, he was right. At the end of the first visit with Frog's dad, he asked, "Hey, is this you?" He got up and went over to the wall and took down a picture frame and handed it to me. It was a yellow copy of an issued citation that the violator gets. I looked at the date. It was from the first time I cited Frog for late spotting. Dad framed it and hung it on the wall. From that time on, whenever I encountered someone being a smart aleck, I would hand him his yellow copy with the added explanation that it was suitable for framing. Frog's dad would have gotten a good laugh about that. Well, that concludes a little summary of some of the experiences we had in the vicinity of the White Silo. All the best, folks.